Hey guys, it's Austin Goodwin with Busy Bee Detail. Today we will be covering the third step in how to properly detail the exterior of your car, which will be covering the Claybar process. I will refer to it throughout this video as the decontamination process. I'll be using a process that requires a few more chemicals and supplies. However, this increases the efficiency of this process by tenfold, but you will see a cost increase when using this process. Finally, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can support my page and find out more about auto detailing. Let's get straight into it. Today you will need quality microfibers since they will be touching your paint. You don't want to use cheap ones when they're touching your paint because that may result in the scratching of your paint. Next you will need a clay lube. I like to use Optimum No Rinse because of the price point, however any quick detailer should work. And a Claybar. The Claybar removes dirt stuck to your paint that standard washing will not remove. I like to use ironx as well when I do this. This is an iron remover that really takes a lot of the contaminants out of the paint before you have to touch it with clay. This results in a reduction of time of the Claybar process, so I see that it's worth the extra money. And finally, I like to use a clay rag. I like to use this to agitate the ironx to make sure that all of the panel has been introduced to the product. Before you start the decontamination process, you need to properly wash the car. If there is any dirt on the surface, it can and probably will scratch the paint when you clay the car. Not every car needs to be claybarred, however, and it is a misconception that every car needs to be prior to applying waxes and sealants. The Claybar and decontamination process removes dirt built up on the car's paint. This is a crucial step to perform given it's necessary if you are going to be applying a wax or doing a paint correction. If dirt is stuck on the surface of the car, waxes and sealants will not properly bond to the paint, resulting in less protection time. If you're performing a paint correction, you will get inconsistent results as your polishing pads will pick up the contaminants. Finally, claying a car will give it more shine as the surface is smooth and able to reflect light evenly. Now that the wash process is complete and the car is still wet, I like to go ahead with my iron remover. I like to use ironx, and what this does is remove any fallout that is embedded in the paint and helps take a big load off of the Claybar process. I will say that the panels that are going to be the most beat up, that need the most attention with this product, are going to be the hood, the roof, and the trunk area. And then along this body line as well. Gets pretty rough too. After the ironx is sat for roughly 5 minutes, I like to rub the product in with my Claybar rag and Claybar lubrication. The instructions say to do this with a wash mitt or sponge, but this helps to speed up the decontamination process as you are removing contaminants from the paint while you agitate the ironx opposed to only agitating the ironx. When using this process, just make sure you spray an adequate amount of clay lube onto the panel that you are agitating with the clay rag. Not doing so could result in the installation of swirl marks. Once you have completely agitated all of the panels on the car with your ironx, you want to go ahead and thoroughly rinse the product off the car and dry the vehicle. Next, I will go through with my actual clay to remove any contaminants the Claybar rag missed. You can tell which areas need to be clayed by running your hand over the paint. If it feels and sounds rough, the Claybar should be needed. I will say that the Claybar gets into the actual Claybar gets into the tighter areas a bit better than the Claybar rag does. So when you're pulling the clay out of the package, you want to knead it into a pancake roughly the size of your 4 fingers. You may not want to use the entire piece because if you drop it, you'll have to throw it all away as it'll pick up the dirt on the ground and engulf it into the clay, which will result in the scratching of your paint. When I start the clay process with the actual clay, I like to start on the hood and work in a clockwise fashion. So I spray the clay lube on the clay and liberally onto the paint and work in relatively large sections. The lubrication creates a barrier between the clay and the paint, minimizing the risk of scratching the paint. When doing this, you'll typically want to use medium pressure. However, you'll really have to play it by ear as far as the pressure goes. Overspray and other stubborn contaminants will not come out with light pressure alone, so you might have to up your pressure. Finally, you'll want to use your clean, nice microfiber to wipe up any Optimum No Rinse or your choice of clay lube and check your work. If the paint is smooth to the touch and not making a rough sound, you're good to go on to the next section. As your Claybar picks up more dirt from the paint, you'll want to knead it over to a clean side. That way you're not rubbing clay with a bunch of dirt on the surface into your car. Again, this dirt on the surface could scratch your paint, so it's pretty important to knead it over to. So once you've completed the decontamination process, your next step would either be to polish or wax the vehicle. In my next video, I will be demonstrating how to apply a wax by hand or with a DA polisher. So if you enjoyed the video and would like to learn more about automotive detailing and how to detail yours and your clients' cars better, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.